Today, it's Liberty Station, a vibrant San Diego community. People live here, work here, they shop and play here. But for nearly 75 years, this land, these buildings, and scores of men and women made up San Diego's Naval Training Center. The center became synonymous with America's finest city. San Diego was indeed a Navy town. The vision for Liberty Station is the present and the future. It's also a monument to a rich, historic past. It was 1917 when the United States entered the First World War. For San Diego, this brought a temporary halt to plans for a permanent naval training station. It did not, however, stop a makeshift camp from coming to life in Balboa Park. By June of 1923, the U.S. Naval Training Station San Diego officially opened its gates, training up to 1,500 recruits at a time, housing them not in barracks, but in tents. The early 1940s welcomed dozens of new acres and buildings to the base, and by 1942, the recruits grinding their way through boot camp had swelled to 25,000. World War II ended, and for a short time, so too did the feeling of a thriving Navy community.
Well, in '48, they hadn't begun to renovate buildings or reconstruct. After World War II, the money was scarce, but the Korean War kind of accelerated those activities.
By the mid-1950s, life on the base was once again flourishing, and NTC had grown to more than 400 unforgettable acres.
When I first saw the base, and I thought it was beautiful, just beautiful, and I thought, I am so lucky to be here. And I have never forgotten that.
Years later, the Cold War ended, the military downsized, and the government called for the closure of NTC for good. San Diego's Naval Training Center, steeped in 75 years of history, a history rich with stories of recruits, their commanders, of the tens of thousands of men and women who walked through these gates. These are their voices, their memories. This is NTC San Diego.
So we get out of the bus, and we're there at the recruit reception center down there, and I'm scared to death. I'm thinking, what did I do?
It's a sentiment that echoes back to June of 1923 on this base.
My guess is the average sailor you see on the street and ask them where they started their career at, it probably would be NTC.
The sound of a new day at NTC San Diego. The sound of a new way of life for young recruits.
It was early, and you're all confused. You're scared, and you're not sure what's happening.
When you see in the movies how difficult and how grueling and how people are so fearful and frightened of the drill instructors or the company commander, that's really true.
Retired Chief Bosun's mate John Ryan was one of many company commanders who helped shape the lives of countless recruits on this base over the years.
I observed that this was going to be a work, but I was prepared for the task because I love working with young men and whipping them into shape for shipboard way of life.
As a woman, I did feel unique because there were a few hundred of us on a base of 40,000 people. So it was a unique experience.
When Barbara Parker arrived at NTC in the 1950s, boot camp on the base was not an option for women. Waves, as they were called, did work on the base and attended a variety of Navy schools.
I was to attend storekeeper school there. When a new company of recruits would come in every week after they were processed in and everything, and they would line up, and we stood behind a counter and issued uniforms and shoes and everything as they walked past.
Over the years, NTC San Diego provided life-changing opportunities for thousands of people. For some, that meant entering the United States for the very first time.
When we were granted independence in 1946, the Philippine government and the United States government agreed under the Defense Treaty of the United States to allow the United States to recruit at least 1,000 people every year as stewards.
Alfredo Damasco was 24 years old and a citizen of the Philippines when he was sworn into the United States Navy. Damasco's duties eventually led him into the Vietnam War and forever changed his life.
We were serving the United States Navy, and I guess we were ready to die for it, you know. And that's how most of the Filipino guys, just like me, that came here. And that's how we became U.S. citizens.
I think it's fitting that a landmark that encompassed so many millions of lives for our freedom should be preserved in one way or another.
The NTC Foundation, a nonprofit organization, is working vigorously to preserve the history of San Diego's Naval Training Center. The vision is to protect and maintain historic buildings, artifacts, and landscape around Liberty Station. Additionally, a variety of exhibitions and visitor services will provide creative history lessons on the many aspects of life at the training center. Unique educational programs also will be developed and implemented especially for school children. We have the stories, the memories, and the voices. Now we need the support of our community to make sure those stories are told, to ensure the past is preserved for the future. NTC San Diego. Let the history not be lost.